Well, we're live on another Hog Out, and we've got some guests on board. Hopefully, you can find Shane, but I don't know where he is. But we've got Anupam here. Now, we're going to be talking about a few things. They're going to involve Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, the Australian Test team, and a few other things. We'll even have a discussion out the back end about South Africa getting into the World Test Championship and what our thoughts are on the World Test Championship structure as well. So wait for that out the back end. Hey, okay, let's get on with it. Roll bumper and get Anupam on. Right, with that, before we get into the cricket, I've got Anupam on here. Before I speak to you, hello Anupam, but before we get chatting, if you want to go live with me on my YouTube channel, we'll fill out the Google form, as Anupam has done a couple of times. This is the second time you've been on here, isn't it, Anupam?
It's the third time.
Third time. Gee whiz. So we've been doing it for a while, and that's good. And hopefully Shane can join us as well. Now, normally I go through and have about 5 things that I want to chat about, but the show just probably goes a little bit too long with that, and I can do other vlogs with all that stuff. So we're going to go straight into the question with Anupam. But before we go there, mate, how was your Christmas?
My Christmas was wonderful. Probably got the best gift which I ever asked from the God. I got my placement. I got placed with the Tatas right before Christmas. That was the best gift which I could get and give to my family also.
Oh, sensational. Congratulations on that. And what job are you doing there, or what role are you performing?
I basically got placed for a system engineer role with them. Basically, I was looking for a computer science role only, so I got the Tatas, and I'm happy to join them after a couple of months' time.
Right. So that tells me that you're not going for the Mumbai Indians then.
I anyway support the Chennai Super Kings.
Yep. I know that you just support the Chennai Super Kings, but Tata are probably in competition with the owners from Mumbai Indians, aren't they?
Yes.
Yep, right. You won't be getting a role at the Mumbai Indians anytime soon with your history. But no, that's good. Actually, over here in Australia, there's some stuff that's going on with the Tatars as well. So it's good that we're actually having a little bit of a chat. So they actually own Indian Airlines now, don't they?
Yes.
Yep. I flew with Indian Airlines about 3 years ago, going over to India from Melbourne. Or could have been 2 years ago. So it was a good flight. Love the curries on there. Love the service. And I figured out that when you're talking to a lady, you can call them auntie. So, yeah, I started doing that on there. So, anyway, you've got a question. Let's get straight into it. What's the first question that you've got?
The first question I have, and let me get a reference for our first meet which we had during the IPL. You talked about Mitchell Marsh not playing the Shield game and joining the Delhi Capitals.
Yep.
And at the moment, there are questions regarding the senior players not playing domestic for years. So how big a role domestic cricket play in shaping a cricketer's career, whether they are seniors or they are a rookie?
Yeah, look, it's a good one, because there's an article there regarding, or with Ravi Shastri and Ricky Ponting's even on that, with Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma's form. So domestic cricket is extremely important to develop the younger players coming through that are going to play international cricket. And that's something that we've got to watch moving forward. The more test players that you get going back playing first-class cricket, the better it is, because they're handing on that experience to the youngsters coming through. Over here in Australia, we had test cricket, then you've got first-class cricket, and then you've got a grade competition underneath that. So in the grade competition, you pick your state players out of it, and then you pick your test players out of the state team. So when I first started, we had test players coming back, not just playing first class cricket, but also playing grade cricket. So I remember Jeff Marsh, who's the father of Sean and Mitchell Marsh, played at Fremantle Cricket Club with me. And I opened the batting with him, I think 4 times in 1 year. That was in the 2-day game, but I think he played about 6 games that particular year out grade cricket. And that was good because it's really putting back into grassroots cricket. So when we come to India, you've got first class system there. So it would be great for the likes of Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli to be able to have that time to go back and play in domestic cricket because it's handing on that experience. But it's very tough now because you've got the IPL, which takes up 2.5 months. India play a lot of white form cricket all around the globe. And they've also got a big schedule with their test cricket. So how often are they going to go back and play first class cricket at domestic level, which is a big issue. And sometimes you just need to go back and play a bit of first class cricket to get your form back. It's just the breeding ground of it. So that's a really good question. But I don't like domestic cricket being used for different purposes. So if someone's struggling, I'll just go back to domestic cricket and play a few games. If you get some form, you're back in the test arena. I think there's got to be a bigger commitment there. The other thing is too, if you look at other countries around the globe, especially South Africa, Sri Lanka, New Zealand, places like that, you need to keep that first class structure going. If you don't keep that first class structure going, the whole foundation of cricket goes and you don't produce international players. Where I'm going with that is it doesn't matter where you are in the world, first class cricket, you've got to make sure the players are looked after that are playing the next level because you want it as strong as possible. But because they're not playing first class level, you've got to have a little bit of due diligence and a little bit of due care with the players to make sure that they can go into jobs after their cricket career. So if you look after them in that regard, so if they play first class cricket till 30, but they're never going to play international cricket, at least they know they're going to go to a decent job afterwards. So I think domestic cricket, we've got to look after it from both ways. International cricketers coming back to give experience to them and to pass on the wisdom so that they're ready for international cricket, but also at the lower end, make sure that those players that aren't going to play international cricket, we help them progress into a job afterwards so they play for a lot longer. Is that a fair enough answer?
Absolutely.
Yep. What role do you think domestic cricket should play?
I think for me, the role of domestic cricket for a youngster is they will get an idea what test cricket teaches them about life, because every day is different from each other. Some days will be very high, some day will be very low. We have seen in a test match, India got all out of 46, but in the very next innings, they try to catch it up. So to understand how life folds for a cricketer, I think 4-day cricket is very important to understand.
Yeah.
And for a senior player, the same thing, as you said, that obviously just for the sake of getting form, it may not be a big justice. But a players like a Pujara or a Rahane, who are at the moment not within the Indian setup, I think they are still prioritizing the domestic cricket to be able to give themselves a better chance to make a comeback, or at least they are serving their state teams who have shown a lot of faith and efforts in shaping their careers. I think that for me is the importance of domestic cricket, and that the players should prioritize it whenever they feel they can prioritize it.
Yep. Good answer. Good answer. Absolutely love it. What's your next question? Oh.
My next question is regarding the Champions Trophy coming in the very next month.
Yep.
And we got to know that Pat Cummins is struggling with his fitness, some ankle issue, and our very own Jasprit Bumrah is also struggling with his back spasm. So keeping these things in mind, would you want to risk them to play the Champions Trophy, keeping in mind the big test series coming for Australia, it's the Ashes, and for India, it's the England tour? Because we've seen fast bowlers, once they get injured, go out for months. With the Shami case, he's been out for almost a year. So, would you
Yep.
like to risk them for the Champions Trophy, or you will save them for the test series?
Look, I think I wouldn't risk them for the Champions Trophy. I think if I look at all the big tournaments around the globe, there's so much more cricket that's probably more important than Champions Trophy. Firstly, the World Test Championship, that's up the top. So Test cricket is number one for me. World Cup, 50 over game, then the World Cup 20 over game is the next two steps that are important to me. IPL, I'll put out number 4 because it's such a big tournament and it's bringing in young players to get on the big stage over in India, but also around the globe as well, giving more financial opportunities to players as well. Then I'd go T20 tournaments around the globe as well. So that's the Pakistan League, the Big Bash League here in Australia, South African League, the 100 over in England. The reason for that is because those particular leagues bring in a bit more financial resource for those particular countries as well. So we've got to try and make them stand on their own feet. So that's why I put that at number 5. And then domestic cricket comes before the Champions Trophy. So for me, if I've got an opportunity to rest players through that Champions Trophy, I would. So I wouldn't risk my fast bowlers there. I'd give opportunity to a few youngsters and see what type of depth that the country's got as well. So that's a good question. What are your thoughts there?
I won't risk them for the Champions Trophy. Honestly, I think for me, those test series are very crucial. Those 5 match test series, whether it's the Ashes or the England tour. I'm
Yep.
very happy to sacrifice the Champions Trophy for them. But those
Yep.
5 test matches are very important for me. And
Yep.
obviously, with the Champions Trophy, I think, I don't know why, but it's not giving that hype like a Cricket World Cup or a 20-over World Cup.
Yeah.
Obviously, all those politics also, I think it cut down the hype. But I feel that test series is very, very important for India. I will say him, both Cummins and Bumrah for those test series.
Yep. Definitely. Now I've just got a JW's come in, so we better just make sure that we're watching here on the sideline. What do you think is wrong with Rohit Sharma? Is it his age? If that's the case, do you think he can turn things around in time for the Champions Trophy? So for Rohit Sharma, I think that I'm looking on the side there. There's a bit of a lost connection here, but while I talk over there, I think Rohit Sharma's probably finished right now at the Test level. I think he should move on. I think his form over the last 6 or 7 months has not been great. He's getting bowled, he's getting LBW, and as an opener, those type of dismissals should not be happening early on in the innings. LBW, yes, but you shouldn't really be getting bowled between bat and pad. When it comes to one-day cricket, I still think he's got a lot to offer. You can play a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more freedom as well. But age is starting to be on the wrong side of the ledger for Rohit Sharma. He's had a wonderful career. There's no doubt about that. I hope for his sake and for India's sake that he does finish on a high whenever he wants to pull the pin. But it's a little bit disappointing with the form now. And I think in the red ball game, he did the right thing in Australia. Probably should have done it in the Melbourne Test and let Gill play in that Melbourne Test as well. I just think he's probably getting close to the end of his career at that Test level. But that's a good question, JW. And we'll look at Baba Ali after the next question from Anupam. What's your next question?
My next question is, it was a tricky one when I was watching BGT. First, I thought Steve Smith is the vice captain. Then I saw Travis Head is also the vice captain. Now I see Steve Smith is the captain. Why you need so many vice captains when only one person will be the captain?
Yeah. Well, you have one person as the captain, but I think In the Australian setup, we try and make all the players be leaders themselves, so all the bowlers know their plans. So when it's coming to T20 cricket, Test cricket, or so forth, the bowlers are actually sorting the field out that they want. They know exactly what they're going to try and do to the batsman. The captain only steps in or has a chat when those plans aren't particularly or aren't working, so they look at different scenarios. When it comes to the vice captain, I think we have two vice captains there, because in the Australian setup, obviously in any team you've got different personalities. So I think they might have two vice captains there, just to have leaders in those two separate groups that Australia probably has there. You've got the Julios and the nerds that's been around for a while, and I think Travis Head's probably with the nerds, and Steve Smith's with the Julios, and the leadership group come together and make sure both sides of the camps are pretty satisfied. But everyone in that Australian team get on, and I don't understand why they've got two vice captains. I think the reason why they got two vice captains is when they go to Sri Lanka, Pat Cummins isn't there because he's bowling. Then all of a sudden, Steve Smith takes over the captaincy, and Travis Head becomes the vice captain in his sole right. So I think that's probably why they've got two vice captains there, so that they know exactly who the leaders are going to be moving forward when Pat Cummins has a rest or has an injury like he does. Right, I'll just get Bubba Ali here. Mr. Hogg, will England survive on pitch that was given to India? I have a feeling 5-0 for Australia in Ashes. I totally agree with you, Bubba Ali. Will England survive on the pitch that was given to India? I think we're talking about the T20 series there, aren't we? That's just coming around, or the white ball series there. I don't think India will be able to survive on that. But when England go over and play India on Test series, if there's Indian wickets there, you make it home ground advantage. I think first innings, England, if they bat first, will be able to play their game and keep up with India. But as the Test match goes on and the wicket starts to break up, England will fall away, and that's where India will take the lead. What's your next question there, Anupam?
My next question is regarding the DRS system, which we saw in the current series, where we saw the KL Rahul dismissal, we saw the Jaiswal dismissal, and all the controversy. So, are you a fan of the DRS technology? Or if you are an umpire, how do you take decisions with this DRS technology? Can you explain me this?
Yeah. Well, with both of those decisions, I feel as though the ball looked as though it came off the glove. But if it's not certain with Snicko, you can't really give it out. But for me, with the eye, I would have given those particular dismissals out. But everything can have a different perception with those caught behinds. Glenn Maxwell in the Big Bash played a reverse pull shot the other night, gloved it to the keeper, and Sydney Sixers were thinking about going up, and then all of a sudden the replay's on the screen and didn't give them time for 15 seconds. So they couldn't go up to the DRS there, which is annoying there. In the last couple of games in the Big Bash, I was commentating a game, David Warner playing for the Sydney Thunder against the Perth Scorchers. Leg spinner Spalls is bowling, hits David Warner just above the knee, and the knee was bent, and his leg was about that far from leg stump, and it was saying that it was going over the stumps. There's no way that ball was going over the stumps. And then the same thing happened with Stoinis against James Vince, Sydney Sixers versus Stars. Vince was back on his crease, similar to David Warner, but got hit above the pad, and it said that it was hitting the top of the bails. So for me, I don't think there's consistency in the DRS, which is with both LBWs and caught behinds. So with the caught behinds that you're discussing, it's if Snicko does not raise a line there and it's come off the glove, I don't think you should give it out unless there is a huge deviation. And with the LBWs, if it's hitting the stumps, whether it's umpire's call or not, it should be given out. Otherwise, I'm not really happy with the technology as it is now. That's the way I see it.
I think the one point I want to add with the DRS is where we have seen two umpires calls in a dismissal. I think it should be given not out because you are not sure with the impact as well and with the hitting as well. So I think there is too many uncertainties. It should be given not out for the batter.
Well, exactly right. That so if the umpire's given it out and it's two umpires calls in the actual process, the benefit of the doubt to the batsman. Definitely. Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Now, what's the next question, please, Anupam? Oh, we've got a few more people coming on. Matthew White. I'll just answer Matthew White ones here. Could Cam Green open for Australia in Test cricket along Costas? I am not 100% certain with that. I'd rather Cam Green bat down the order, Mr. Matthew White, because you want to utilise him with the ball as well. It's not so much in the first innings if they bat first. It's more if they bat second, and Cameron Green's had to bowl a few overs. So that's why I wouldn't open with Cameron Green. And I think he's better suited down the order. Should Boland be included in the playing 11 for the World Test Championship final? Well, who are you going to keep out of that World Test Championship final? It would have to be Boland or Stark or Hazelwood. I think Boland should actually play in that World Test Championship final instead of Hazelwood. Hazelwood at the present moment, and you don't want to go in with him with an injury cloud as well. I think Boland absolutely deserves a crack in the World Test Championship final. Good questions there, Matty White. And sorry I didn't agree with you with Cam Green, but I agree with you with Scotty Boland. Rightio. Anupam, what's your next question?
I'm glad that question came up. My next question is related to that only. Yeah. So, is Australia prepared for the future games with lot of their players in their late 30s? I remember saw the ESPN Cricket photo with Sam Constance is a teenager and Rustall in the high 30s, no 20s.
Yep.
So, do you think they are really well prepared for it?
I think with our all-rounders and our batsmen, we're okay. But with our bowling department, especially our fast bowling department, I think we've got a few issues there. I'm looking at who we've got there in our leading wicket takers in first-class cricket. I think there's an Edwards who's more medium fast from New South Wales that's in the top three. I think there's O'Neill up there as well, who's just on the scene playing for the Melbourne Renegades. And another guy that I'm really enjoying is Thornton from the Adelaide Strikers. A little bit expensive, but he's got a slingy action. And I think, especially going over subcontinent regions, he might be able to get a bit of reverse swing. But he's also got a little bit of extra pace as well. But I am a little bit worried about our bowling depth. If you look at the tour going to Sri Lanka, I'm a little bit surprised they did not take Jai Richardson on this particular tour. Jai Richardson, 28. They took Abbott, Boland, Stark over there. I would have taken Jai Richardson as well. Skiddier bowler. And with those low bouncing wickets over there in Sri Lanka where they turn a bit, he might be able to get a bit of reverse swing as well and create those LBW opportunities. So he's stump to stump with a low bounce on those type of wickets. He's probably going to be more advantageous for Australia than probably what the other bowlers are who hit the deck with a little bit higher trajectory with a chance of the ball going over the top of the stump. So that's probably why I would have taken Jai Richardson. But our depth is a little bit of a worry. Good question there. Good question. Yeah.
And also, I think Usman Khwaja is also currently is 38 years. Do you think there is who do you think in your domestic circuit who can replace Khwaja?
Khwaja. Look, I think we've still got plenty of depth in our batting. Renshaw can come in or Swep. Who's the guy? I was thinking of Swepson. Who's the guy that
McSweeney.
got dropped? McSweeney. Yeah, I just had a little bit of a blank there. I think McSweeney can open with Costas. I think that would be a good combination, especially with Labuschagne and Smith still batting underneath. But where our big issue is probably going to be is who's going to fill in number 3 and number 4. So you got McSweeney coming in out, probably coming in out number 3 to replace Labuschagne. And then whoever replaces Khawaja, I'd bring in Renshaw to replace Khawaja at the present moment. I think he's starting to find his feet again, and I think he's learnt what type of cricketer he wants to be. He's had a lot of time in first-class cricket to reinvent himself, and I think he's just about ready to come back and take that opening position. And he's a tall opener as well, and he can complement Costas out the other end. But we are going to be put under the pump over the next couple of years, which is a good thing for cricket. Which is a good thing.
Definitely.
Yeah. What's your next question? And we'll get one from the guys after that.
So, are you asking my next question?
Yep.
My next question is it fair to judge a coaching staff's performance after 3 big series defeats? And why I'm saying this, because all those big series defeats were a very highly quoted defeats. Lost to Sri Lanka after 27 years, lost to New Zealand at home after 12, lost BGT after 10 years. So it's a big quoted defeats. So is it just to fair a coaching staff's performance after these defeats?
Well, you've got to look at the selection panel as well. Who was selecting the team? Who was selecting the squads in those particular scenarios? What is the long plan as well for India? But you look at it. India looked as though they were going to get to the World Test Championship final. They didn't. They've had a terrible last couple of months. So I think if you're looking at the coaching staff, they will be under pressure moving forward. So is it Gautam Gambhir that's got to go, or is it a new head coach that brings in his own coaching staff, or is it the assistant coaches that have to go as well? But I think through that particular period, you've got Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli in there as well, that are 2 leaders that really haven't been on the top of their game as well. So there's a number of variables there which you could look at, which has been the demise of Indian Test level over that particular period. But for me, you've got to look at who's selecting the team. If Gautam Gambhir is part of that, well, then questions do have to be asked. So I think they definitely are under pressure. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. They are under the pressure. I feel like this Champions Trophy can be a make or break for them. I don't know exactly, but I feel like. And also what I addressed after this BGT, the team under Gautam Gambhir has been a lot more defensive than the team under Dravid and Shastri. And under both of them, we played the BGT and won.
Yeah.
We've seen them, we played with 5 proper bowlers, whether it's 3 spinners, 2 fast bowlers, or 4 fast bowlers, 1 spinner. But they have been a lot more attacking. But here we try to lengthen our batting. In that case, we try to compromise with our bowling resources.
Yeah, well, exactly right. You've got a different coach, a different style of game as well. The one thing that Gautam Gambhir said earlier on too, that he wants his players to be adaptable, so have that aggressive brand of cricket. But when they've got to save the Test match, they've got that defensive game as well. And I really haven't seen that in the Indian team as we've gone forward. Now, I've got another 2 questions that we've got to answer, but I'm just going to go here and going on what you're saying there. Pikachu, looking at ICT management and Gambia recent interview, I'm convinced they are planning to remove Kohli and wanting to just get done with 10K runs. Is India confident with all young team members squad? Well, if that's the case, I'd love Virat Kohli to get his 10,000 runs. I think he's been a fantastic player. And that could be another dynamic there. Has the relationship between those two settled in that environment as well? If it hasn't, it could be causing a little bit of disturbance there. And talking about Virat Kohli's game, I'm just thinking with the way that he's getting caught playing, dabbing outside off stump, it's not a matter of playing on the line and the ball's seaming away and it's just beating the outside edge. He's actually chasing it and playing away from his body, but he's fighting himself, and you can't fight that self. I'm going to ask you a question, Anupam. If you're batting and you're Virat Kohli and you're wanting to not play those balls outside off stump, do you say to yourself, don't chase the ball? Or do you say to yourself, right, I'm going to leave outside off stump. I'm going to leave outside off stump. Don't chase it. Don't chase it. Which way?
I'm going to leave those balls because it's like scoring low marks consistently in a maths exam. So I know what happens when I go home.
Yep.
So I would not chase the balls. I would bring that Sachin style of play, the way he played in Sydney. I will test the Australian bowlers that bowl me outside off stump. I won't play at all. You have to chase me towards my legs. And I will play those Virat Kohli brand of shots towards the leg side.
Yep.
Where he uses his bottom hand very well than probably anybody else.
Yeah. Because if you say I'm not going to play outside off stump, I'm not going to play outside off stump, you've more chance of leaving it than say don't play outside off stump, because the don't is a negative and it's telling you don't, and you'll always chase it eventually. But if you say I won't play outside off stump, I'm not going to play outside off stump, I'm going to leave, you're in a more positive mindset there. Good question, that one. Chinnapar Raju, please bring up my question with DRS. Chinnapar, where is that question? I think we've already talked about the DRS, and we both agree that there's still some glitches on it. Mr. Hogg, Bubba Ali, this is a good one. Your take on the two-division system for Test if the division is made on ranking England will end up in Division 2. Well, that's not what they want with their division. They want a division where England are going to be playing India and Australia, and that's what makes most of the money, or that's where they get most of the money. But I'm going to get it up now. Series World Test Championship, because Ravi Shastri is talking about the World Test Championship being in two divisions. So that would be how many have we got? We've got 9. England is 6. So England would be in the second division. So it's not really helping that. So good pickup by Babar Ali. But I don't think.
Let me just remind people that India and Australia's relation with England in cricket has been this.
Yep. It's an interesting one, that, but I agree that we should have two divisions. I actually think that we should have 3 divisions and have a World Test Championship cycle where 4 teams play against each other. The top 2 play in the final. The bottom 2 play against the top 2 of the next division through that World Test Championship final series to see who stays up or gets demoted. And it's a best of 6 in that World Test Championship final. 3 home games, 3 away games. What do you think, Anupam?
I think we can do that because I think we need quality. Test cricket needs quality. I think we saw in this BGT, we saw the quality. That's why we saw the record crowds in every stadium. If you don't have the quality, then nobody will watch Test cricket.
Yep, exactly right. Now, we've got 2 questions here before I read these ones from Shane, who was meant to join us but couldn't get there. Chinnapar Raju has put the DRS question back up there. Why they use Snicko or Hotspot in Australia? Why not use Ultra Edge, which shows clear edge than Snicko which was used in this year's BGT. Snicko was controversial in some cases. I quite agree with him there. Where was Hotspot? Chinappa, I'm going to go and sort that out because Hotspot does show the edge, and I think it's good. It gives a clearer picture. Would you agree, Anupam?
I think I do agree, and I have to bring Michael Clark's points, which I heard in his podcast. Tell him I do watch his podcast.
Yeah.
And he just brought this point that I think earlier in the earlier BGT in Down Under, we had the hotspot and the Snicko. This time we don't have the hotspot. In some games, we don't have DRS at all. So I think I don't understand why there is so much differentiation. I think we should add some standardization that every game, these all things should be there.
Yep, totally
or
right.
else remove DRS completely. I think we have to have some standardization to make this game a more simpler, more better.
Yep, it's got to be the same all around the globe. JW, are Virat's struggles being exacerbated by his reluctance to play the cut and pull shots? Well, he should be playing the cut shots. Those little dabbles that he's had outside off stump are perfect areas for him to cut as well. Just if you can't play the full cut shot, glide it between third and gully. And when the full cut shot's there, go hard at it, Virat. JW, good pickup. Right, now Shane was meant to be with us. We've got two more questions here. He's asked, Harshit Rana was very impressive on Perth. Bowls heavy balls of 140 plus. One poor spell in Adelaide. Why they didn't back him could be very lethal on bouncy wickets. Will be a feature in Champions Trophy. I hope he's a feature in Champions Trophy. I just love his spirit. I love the way that he really has that aggressive nature about him. I think there's one aspect of his game that I'd really like him to add, and that's do what Dale Steyn does, is just bowl within himself, be able to move the ball in the air. That's get a little bit of swing, but when he needs to up the ante and up the pace, have that in reserve to really break the game open. And that's where Dale Steyn was sensational. He's got a great Yorker. He's got a great bouncer. Probably should have used the Yorker a little bit more in this test series. And it's disappointing. You have one bad spell and they don't go with him again. It's not on. But that's the nature of the beast. He's had an experience. And now that he's had that experience, he's got to go away and learn what he can add to the game, both mentally and with his technique to better himself, to make sure he takes that opportunity when it comes next, because there are going to be plenty of opportunities for him moving forward with the injury to Boomerang. Would you agree, Anupam?
I think I wouldn't have gone with Harshit Rana. I would have gone with Prasidh Krishna because of his tall-heighted nature, and he is very good with the bouncers. But I do agree that after he should have been back for the next test as well. I was personally very surprised they didn't back him after 2 games. Probably they got under pressure after Adelaide. I don't know, but they should have been backed. He should have been bagged. But if you ask me who I would have preferred, I would have preferred Prasidh Krishna for Perth. Yep.
Yeah, he bowled really well in that last test match. He was sensational. Very, very, very good bowling. And that, having to bowl 10 overs straight in that second innings just showed the quality of Siraj and Krishna, or more so on Krishna. We'll just have a quick chat about Krishna. More shows that he's got something to offer Indian cricket moving forward. He's got stamina. He wants it. He keeps it nice and simple. And I think he's probably got more upside than the other bowlers there. I think Rana and Krishna are going to be the future of the Indian bowling attack moving forward. So in a couple of years, they'll be the mainstay there. And hopefully Boomer is around still to do what he's doing. But he's injury prone at the moment. So I think you're going to be relying more heavily on Rana and Krishna. Now, the next question is, why Mayank Yadav? Why can't he play longer formats? Why his an injury, or why is he injury prone? He's injury prone because he's young. I'm looking at his first class stats. I think he's only played one first class game, so he hasn't played too much of the longer format as well. I think it's just all sheer pace with Mayank Yadav. Now, there's a couple of other bowlers that are very similar to him that bowl 145, 150 plus. But I think with the young Indian bowlers coming through that bowl that pace, I think sometimes they're thinking, right, I just want to bowl sheer pace. If I can get an IPL contract, I'm happy. And once they get that IPL contract, everything falls out the window. They don't learn how to play the longer form of the game. They don't know how to bowl within themselves. They don't have that endurance factor. They don't train for that endurance factor. They don't train for the skills to be able to bowl within themselves, like I was saying about Harshit Rana, to be able to move the ball both ways, to keep that body, to not wear that body out quickly. So bowl within yourself, and then when you've got that extra pace and the game needs you to go up an extra gear, you can really take that game on. So I think Mayank Yadav is more of a 20-20 bowler. I don't think he's got the game plan to work batsmen out in the longer format of the game. So I think you're going to have to look at Harshit Rana and Krishna as your options moving forward. I don't think Mayank Yadav, I don't think you'll see him playing too much Test cricket. Would you agree with me there, Anupam?
Definitely. I think with Mayank Yadav, the first time I saw him, he was very lean and thin. So, and the gun fast bowlers, they generally are very thick. They have a lot of muscles. See a Shoaib Akhtar, see a Bradley. They have a lot of muscle in their body, and with that regard, he's very thin. So he obviously will be very injury prone unless he adds more muscle in his body.
He's got to get the right fitness around him. Rightio, we're just going to quickly have one chat about South Africa in the World Test Championship final. I'm loving this. I think they deserve to be there. There's a lot of talk around that they had an easy progress there. They weren't playing the big teams, but Pakistan don't play India as well. And if Pakistan got in the World Test Championship final, well, we'd still be having that same discussion. But we're talking offline there. You're not happy with the World Test Championship, Anupam. What is that about? Just quickly raise that.
I think we've got 9 teams in the championship. We only play 6 of them. So where are those other 3 teams? Why are we not playing with them? India doesn't play with Pakistan. Sometimes we don't play with Australia. Sometimes we won't play with this or that team. I don't understand. And the other thing is, percentage points is not a right criteria to judge a team's performance, because England is playing 22 test matches, never played a championship final. South Africa played half the test matches, they are in the final. So that is a big difference. And even I heard Ben Stokes in New Zealand, he said that it's very confusing that sometimes one game we win, we go to first place. The very next game we lose, we come at the bottom half. So it's...
Oh, well, Anupam was putting in a good point there. I totally agree with him. Is here he comes back. Yeah, totally agree with you there. And that's something. If we put it in divisions, will that help the Test Championship out as well? But I think totally agree with you with that. But the issue with all of this as well is India, Australia, and England bringing most of the money with Test cricket. Whereas when you play the other nations, so let's say here in Australia, we make a profit when India and England come here. But when the other nations come here, we make a loss. So that's why it's a shortened series when they come here, or we try and make it a shortened series. So it's a financial thing as well, which we just can't get right. The only way we can get it right is making sure those other nations start to lift and become entertainingly viable. So totally agree with you there. And there's just one other thing.
I do have one solution for it.
Yep, go for it.
Because we all know India, Australia, England, they will always play 5 series. There's no question about that. So what we can do is that the ICC can say that, okay, you play your 5 series, but we only consider only first 2 matches for the championship cycle. So in that regards, we can have teams playing same amount of matches in the cycle, and then we can decide who can be the finalists. I think that's what I thought as a solution.
Totally agree with you. What about have the last 2 test matches as the championship? So then those last 2 test matches have everything on the line.
Definitely, we can do either ways, but only consider a couple of matches for the cycle only. Lest you can the other matches, keep it to them only. You decide who will be your series winner, but we will only consider these matches for our cycle.
Yep, exactly right. Because if it's 3-0 to one team and you've still got 2 test matches to go, the series is done, but you've still got a lot on the line to win those last 2 test matches for the Champions Trophy points. I love it. I love it. Now, just quickly, ILT20, Smith from South Africa came out and he's upset with the ILT20. He thinks it's not doing anything for the game. It's not developing the game in any region. It should be scrapped. And it's conflicting with both the BBL here in Australia as well as the South African T20 tournament. I totally agree with him. I think we don't need these extra T20 tournaments coming in and affecting the game in regions where test nations are trying to develop their game, keep grassroots cricket going, keep their domestic structure going forward, and also having tournaments which could really lift the profile of the game in their country and help get young kids more interested in the game, get involved in it, and be future test cricketers of their particular region. So for me, if you're not a test playing nation, there should be no T20 tournaments of a great nature where you're having so many overseas players coming in and taking away from other T20 tournaments around the globe. I don't mind it if the ILT20 is played in a period where it's not conflicting with other T20 tournaments around the globe from test playing nations, because there's still enough English players and other players around the globe that still might be able to play in that particular tournament. But don't play it when there's other T20 tournaments going on. Would you agree with me, Anupam?
I think I partly agree with Smithy and partly not, because we are talking about the UAE cricket, and UAE cricket is not par with the USA cricket. So I think they may prefer international stars coming in and growing their UAE cricket. And I think they're also taking steps. I think they've said that play a UAE player in your playing 11. It's a mandate. So they are trying to do well. But as you said, there are too many international players playing in a league where you hardly have your locals. I think that also not good for the game.
Yep, totally right. If you're not playing locals in there and the majority of your players aren't locals, it should not be going ahead the tournament. Thank you very much all for joining me. Thank you, Anupam. Well done on getting that job at Tata. That's probably been the best news of my new year. Thank you very much for that. Now, if you want to join us like Anupam has, make sure you fill out that Google form. But you guys have a good day, and hopefully your team is on the right side of the ledger, just like Australia were against India. Sorry about that. I just had to have a quick jive as we go. All right. See you, Anupam. See you, everyone. Thank you very much.